welcome to today's live. If you've been following me for a while, you know every Thursday I pop on live and we chat all things health and fitness. So welcome to today's talk on perimenopause. Before I jump into it, I just want to say thanks for stopping by and listening. And those of you that don't know me, my name is Lisa. I'm your new Tell It Like It Is best friend, personal trainer, faster way to fat loss coach, and hormone specialist. So today we are diving into perimenopause. So perimenopause is a very challenging time in a woman's life. And I want to talk to you about what perimenopause is versus what menopause is. People use perimenopause and menopause interchangeably, but really they're not. So really quick, let's just dive into that. So perimenopause is up to 10 years before you go into menopause. So what's menopause? Menopause is when you haven't had a cycle for 12 months. So you don't know you're in menopause until you're done with it, okay? So once you haven't had a cycle for 12 months, then technically you have been in menopause, you're now postmenopausal, you're done. Perimenopause is about the 10 years prior to that. So perimenopause, again, is going to be about 10 years prior to that 12-month of not having a cycle time frame. So generally, women go into perimenopause anytime between mid-30s to mid-40s. So that's kind of like the time frame reference. So if you are in that age group, you're probably in perimenopause right now. If you are 50 and 60, you still could be in perimenopause. People, just like as you're a teenager getting your cycle, people go through these changes at different ages of their life. So that's the difference between perimenopause and menopause. Now, what happens in perimenopause? Let's talk about that. In perimenopause, our hormones are different. So our hormones start to change. We start losing estrogen. We increase our cortisol levels, and your progesterone can start to decrease as well. So all of a sudden, your hormone levels are fluctuating, which is why you feel like you have mood swings again, which is why you might see different things happening during your cycle, like having a lighter cycle or a heavier cycle, or maybe your cycles are no longer 28 days. You might feel like irritable or have, cramps, and you never experienced that before. That's all why, because your hormones are fluctuating. And in the past, before, you maybe were on birth control, or if you weren't, your hormones were more stable. Now our hormones are not stable, they're fluctuating. That's why we have all of these symptoms. So how can we help these symptoms? How can we, fix these symptoms so that we feel better without going on medication? Now, if you want to go on medication, you certainly can. But I want to give you a couple of tips today. I'm going to give you 2 tips today that will help you to start regulating those hormones again so that you start to feel better, and you can do this naturally. So if you want more tips, just comment more below and I will send you my 3 fat burning tips in perimenopause. All right. Tip number 1 is to de-stress. So cortisol is a fat storing hormone, and cortisol is our fight or flight hormone. Meaning if you are trying to fight a bear, your cortisol level is going to increase so that you can fight or flee from the bear. But we're not fighting or fleeing bears here, friends. But our cortisol level increases every time we look at social media, every time we watch the news, every time we read about something bad in the newspaper, anytime we feel stressed out. Maybe it's family stress, relationship stress, home stress. We also place stress on our body by what we eat and drink. So my tip number 1 is to start de-stressing. Now, that can be as simple as going on a 10-minute walk after you eat supper. It could be as simple as monitoring the time you spent scrolling social media. It can be as simple as just not watching the news. Here's a hint. Just because you stop watching the news doesn't mean you won't know what's going on. You will still know what's going on even if you don't watch the news, okay? I haven't watched the news in, when was the last time I watched the news? March 17th of 2020. I know the exact date, and if you want to know why, send me a DM and I'll tell you. That's the last time I watched the news. I haven't watched the news since then, and I still know what's happening in the world. I still know what's going on in my city. Yes, you can still know what's going on and not watch the news. So number 1 is to de-stress. Again, if you want more tips, just comment the word more below and I will send you 3 tips that I haven't talked about here today to help you burn fat during perimenopause. All right, now tip number two is to eat more food. I know, it's like shocking. Like, how did a personal trainer and nutrition coach just tell me to eat more food? There is a little asterisk next to the eat more food. And that is not to eat more processed food, to eat more whole food nutrition. Eat more fruit, eat more vegetables, eat more protein, have oatmeal. We need to stop thinking that we should be eating 800 calories a day to lose weight. That's why it's not working. You are stressing your body out by not consuming enough food. Now, we also don't want to go to the extreme and overconsume, but it is best to consume a little bit more food, especially fiber, so those vegetables and fruit, so that your body is getting the fuel it needs in order to not only survive, but thrive. Our hormones thrive on that food. So what you're putting in your body directly affects your hormones. So are you putting high quality food into your body, or are you fueling your body with things that are not as high quality? So I want you to think about that the next time you take a forkful of food. How are you fueling your body in order to optimize your hormones and in order to feel your best? Now, I want to help you out here because I know this can be confusing to people. When I say to eat more food, I'm not saying, again, to go to McDonald's and grab a Big Mac. What I am saying is 800 calories or 1,200 calories a day probably isn't what you need. You need to eat a little more food in order to fuel your hormones and your body. So again, grab some more fruit, eat some vegetables. It's okay to have oatmeal or rice, that's totally fine. Add some black beans to your plate with your taco salad tonight. And you know what? Maybe add a little bit of extra protein as well. Most women do not eat enough carbohydrates or protein. So try those out and see if those 2 tips help you to start feeling better. Just a reminder, comment the word more if you want 3 of my tips that will help you burn fat during perimenopause. And the 2 tips we talked about today were how to de-stress your body so you can release some of that stress, and eating more food to fuel your body and your hormones. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day.